Welcome back to the channel, and hello if you're new. Before we dive into today's video, make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, comment down below your thoughts, and consider subscribing to stay updated on my future content. Now without further ado, let's get on into the video. Starting with episode 4, the episode kicks off with two strangers who turn out to be twin brothers from the future, approaching Mark for his help. Their mission? To stop an evil dictator from ruling over their timeline. Turns out the dictator is none other than a mortal. Then Mark has to go head to head with him, ultimately killing him to restore order and return to his own time. Trying to stay composed, finishing his date with Eve. Meanwhile, Nolan is still imprisoned, grappling with his identity, but when things seem grim, Alan the alien pulls off a bold move. He tricks Nolan into thinking he was about to sacrifice himself to free him. This then forces Omni-Man to step in and help, leading to a massive battle alongside Battle Beast, who once again proves why he's one of the most dangerous beings in the galaxy. On to episode 5, Mark and Eve finally team up to create the Invincible Corp, a hero for hire business, but things get complicated fast when they cross paths with an old enemy, Titan. Titan then tries to convince Invincible to help him defeat the leader of the Order, known as Mr. Liu. Their battle escalates when Mr. Liu then changes into a massive dragon, pushing Mark to his limits yet again. Meanwhile, at home, Debbie starts to worry about Oliver's rapid growth, being half Viltrumite, and his development is happening at an unnatural speed, making her question whether he's truly ready for the world. On to episode 6, a new villain named Powerplex emerges, and his backstory is one of the most tragic yet. His hatred for Mark stems from season 1 when Omni-Man's brutal attack on Mark indirectly caused Powerplex's family to be killed. His revenge plan backfires in the worst way as he accidentally kills his wife and child during the fight. It's a dark, emotional moment that shakes Mark to his core, making him question the collateral damage of being a hero. Meanwhile, Ray approaches Rex with a life-changing decision. She's ready to leave the team but wants him to come with her. On to episode 7. Earth's greatest heroes unite to fight an invasion unlike any other, the Invincible variants. Thanks to Angstrom Levy's reality jumping powers, multiple versions of Mark arrive, tearing cities apart. Some of them fall, but many survive, leaving behind unimaginable destruction. The remaining variants of Invincible get dragged into a wasteland dimension, the one we've seen Mark in previously. We see back at the Pentagon, Cecil is beaten up and in bad shape, and he's desperate in finding a way to stop the madness. Mark is left devastated after the events of the Invincible War, as it's left Eve hospitalized by her wounds. Mark then tries to prove useful by helping the city rebuild until he arrives. This brings us to episode 8. With the world still in ruins, a new threat arrives, one that makes everything before it look easy. Conquest, one of the deadliest Viltrumites, comes to test Mark, pushing him past every limit yet again. The fight is brutal. Mark nearly dies multiple times, Eve gets critically wounded and then regenerates just in time, and Oliver comes within inches of being torn in half. With everything Mark has witnessed and experienced, even with broken hands, he somehow manages to break free and overpower Conquest and break his metal arm before bashing his head in. We then see Angstrom Levy making a full recovery, his hatred for Mark stronger than ever, and in the final moments we see Damien Darkblood speaking to some mysterious figure, hinting at an even bigger battle ahead. Now, onto my final thoughts and reaction. Let's start with the positives. Invincible War storyline was incredible. Seeing different versions of Mark was insane. I also think Omni-Man's redemption arc and Alan's strategy to free him were great moments too. To add to that, the action scenes, especially Conquest versus Mark, were some of the best fight scenes in the series. I also want to mention Powerplex's story was a great episode as it took us down a different path, which adds depth to Mark's journey. Now onto the negatives. I feel like the pacing was rushed, especially with major events like Omni-Man's escape or Invincible Corp. I also feel like some side characters didn't get enough development compared to past seasons. In the animation, I'm starting to see what the issue is. Comparing the promos side by side with the actual show, it starts to slightly get worse. You'd think with the longer schedule that they're allowed to have, that they'd have time to improve on these things, but it is getting worse and worse each season, very slightly. Now moving on to my final point, the finale was brutal, but did it feel earned? Some fans might debate that. Like in comparison to season 1 compared to season 3, I still think that season 1 hands down is the better season, but that's not to take away anything from season 3 as it's great in its own right. So that brings me to my conclusion. Is Invincible season 3 worth watching? Absolutely. While it has some flaws, the highs are really high. If you enjoyed the previous season, you'll love this one. And with that cliffhanger ending, season 4 is shaping up to be even bigger. So that wraps up my thoughts on Invincible season 3. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, what you thought of this season. Was it everything you hoped for, or did it fall short? If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, and if you're new, consider subscribing for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.